Welcome to another session. I do these every Friday. Today it's learning about what is a priority for you once you have been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. So I will take you through 5 steps that you should be taking to ensure that you manage your chronic condition and you start creating a healing environment where you're supporting your body the way it needs to be supported, right? And this, I'm talking about going beyond the medication and the treatments that you would be already uh, doing in guidance, following the guidance of your medical professional. This is going much beyond that. This is actually focusing on the foundation. So make sure that you stay till the end because I will take you through 5 critical foundational steps, which will show you, which will tell you exactly what you need to focus on, right? And if you like what I have to say, then type in yes in the comments. That's it, just type in yes. So that I will share with you a free guide that I'm in the process of creating. It's called 5 changes you need to make. It's going to be based on this topic. So 5 changes you need to make if you're diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. So just type in yes. It's going to be a detailed kind of a guide which will help you to start thinking on these lines, to start maximizing what is actually needed for you to heal, to cope better, to minimize your symptoms. What is that you need to minimize, things that are harmful for your body, for you, and what you need to prioritize, more importantly, right? So type in yes if you would like that free guide. 5 changes you need to make if you're diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, right? So let's get going for about today's topic. So the first thing is that, while you and again, it's no matter what chronic condition that you're dealing with, these foundational things that I'm discussing right now holds true for any condition, right? It's obviously specific to autoimmune, but the foundation remains the same when you're trying to create a healing environment. No matter what disease you have been diagnosed with, you can actually apply and implement this and see the results in your life, right? So if you're dealing with any other kind of chronic issue, you can still take these 5 steps, right? So that's what I wanted to sort of make sure that I sort of share with you. So let's get started with step one, right? Let's just get straight into it. So step one will be to assess your diet. Right? So first thing is to, before you can start making changes, before you can start understanding how you can support your body, you need to know where you are. Take stock of where you are right now, which means that you need to be very clear what you are consuming right now, what kind of, whether it's more processed foods, whether it's more refined carbohydrates, whether it's enough nutrient dense foods, which is like vegetables and fruits. And I'm not talking about juices, etc., but wholesome foods, fresh, unprocessed foods, and also seasonal foods, going with the seasons, because that makes a big impact on the nutrient content in each food. That's how nature intended to be. So making sure that you are focusing on seasonal fresh produce. So just assessing your diet is the first big step, because as we when we are trying to address the root cause, when we are trying to minimize symptoms, when we are trying to create a healing environment, we the first thing that we typically need to do is to treat food as medicine. And because it truly is, it can, the food that you eat, what you put in your mouth, can either move you towards disease or it can move you towards health, right? So that's where we start, food as medicine, which is why with the step number one is to assess your diet. And I'm going to put in more details in the free guide that I mentioned. So if you want the free guide, which is 5 changes you need to make if you have been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, then just type yes in the comments below and I will get in touch with you. So that's the step number one, to assess your diet. The step number two would be to eliminate gluten, right? And of course, there are other foods. These are the typical 5 foods that we find are a big problem for most people, but gluten is number one, especially if you have an autoimmune condition where there is a connection with your gut health. We know that for sure. There's enough research on that. which is which is typically that you're dealing with enhanced intestinal permeability, where undigested food, because of poor digestion, maybe malabsorption also takes place. But undigested food particles, toxins, microbes, all of which should be only in your gut, small and large intestine, actually slips into the bloodstream, which makes your immune system hyper vigilant over a period of time. And that actually promotes chronic inflammation, right? Which is all the pain that you feel, low energy, all of that. So it's a problem only when it becomes chronic. And it becomes chronic because you're eating foods day in and day out, which are moving into the in your bloodstream, and making your immune system more and more vigilant, right? Which is not what you want to do. You want your immune system to be appropriately tolerant, because a healthy and balanced immune system should be able to tolerate most of the time, right? It should be assessing the threats and only reacting when it needs to. It should neither be underreacting, or nor it should be overreacting, right? It should be just reacting to the right level, and then that's how you don't have chronic inflammation. Otherwise, it just keeps leading to tissue damage, organ damage, and finally disease diagnosis. If you're already diagnosed, you're already at that stage, but you can still take steps to reverse that. So taking out gluten is key here, because it also helps to create enhanced intestinal permeability. It's one of the triggers. So that's the first thing that as a functional medicine certified health coach, I ask my clients to take out of their diet. There are other things too, but this is the biggest one. Which is why I said eliminate gluten would be the next step. If you want to take it one notch further, then these are foods like soy, corn, eggs, and dairy would be the other top four, which in fact, we call it an elimination diet, which you eliminate for at least a month, usually with entrenched chronic conditions, especially autoimmune diseases. We ask, that you take it out for a good 3 months to see a difference, and you start seeing a difference in your energy levels, in your sleep, in your pain levels, right? You see a difference when you start taking out these foods. You see some improvements. So that's step number two. And I will be talking about it. I mean, I'll be mentioning this in details in the guide that I just mentioned. 5 changes you need to make when diagnosed with an autoimmune condition. So if you are interested in that, just type yes in the comments so that I can get in touch with you. Step number 3 is create a self-care routine. Now, you might have this already, then it's okay. Maybe it's time that you become more intentional about it. Make sure that it's part of your daily life and not just something that you do on the weekends. As women, we tend to give of ourselves. We usually overgive. That's how we are conditioned. As children, and even as we are growing up, and even as adults, that we need to we are nurturers, we are natural caregivers, but sometimes we fail to give to ourselves, to take the to take rest, to take many breaks in the day. And especially when we are already dealing with any kind of chronic health issue, this becomes even more important. So if you don't have this already, then creating a self-care routine at this point is critical. And what I don't mean by this is going to a spa or getting a massage or lighting a candle, of those kind of things. It's as simple as taking mini breaks, making sure that you're having enough water, making sure that you maybe just taking time to breathe, going off screen during the day. Small things, and especially if you're busy, then these mini breaks become really important. In my coaching program, I take my clients through a questionnaire which helps them to understand which area of their life that they need to focus on more, whether it's maybe social part of it, part of their self-care routine, which means that they might need to step out and meet some of their friends. Last couple of years has been hard on all of us in terms of meeting people, but as things are opening up, maybe it's time that you start sort of meeting your friends, and just getting in touch with people who inspire you, who lift you up, making sure that you have a network of people who are supporting you as you make changes in your life, as you sort of start creating this healing environment supporting your body. That's what I mean by a self-care routine. So it can be many things. If you're working somewhere, maybe it's time that you had a talk with with your employer and figure out ways to actually maybe slow down a bit if you need to. So there are many different aspects of a self-care routine that you need to uh, you know make sure that you're creating one, right? Something that you can stick to on a daily basis, and it will change over a period of time. The fourth thing would be that um, improving your eating hygiene, right? So we talk about so many things, especially when we are already dealing with chronic health issues. We talk about supplements, lab testing, medicines, of course. And as I said, it's not either or. You may need certain medications. You will need some treatment to make sure that you don't have further tissue damage, etc. But give me a second. I will need to, yeah. So what happens is that improving your eating hygiene. Sorry, I just got a bit waylaid here. So the foundation sometimes we miss out on, right? We do so many things and we forget that it's not only about that. It's about all the foundational aspects of actually making sure that you can create long-term health. It's not about getting better in the short run and then finding out that in the long run that there is you're not able to deal with it, or not able to sustain your health, right? It's not about only getting well, it's about staying well, which is why I'm talking about very foundational aspects in this session. And one of them, which is something that I basically talk to my clients, and we do it in the first few sessions, is improving the eating hygiene, or which, and by that I mean a few simple things. And again, I will be elaborating in the guide and the resource that I'm going to share with you. So if you want, if you think that that guide will help you, it's about 5 changes you need to make. If you're dealing with, if you've been diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, make sure that you type yes in the comments below, and I will get in touch with you after this. So one of the main things that I teach my clients right from the start is putting in place a proper eating hygiene, which means that you need to be in a rest and digest mode while you're having your meals, right? It's not about just having the right foods. You have to ensure that your digestive juices are functioning properly, make sure that your digestion is optimal so that you can absorb the nutrients that you need to from your food. It's not about just having the right foods, it's also how you have those foods, which are equally important, which is where your eating hygiene comes in. So that is something that I share in details, and I'm going to share it in the free guide. So put in place an eating hygiene and things like no screens during meal time. Maybe take, if you've had a stressful day before you start eating, taking a few deep breaths that will help you to shift from the fight or flight mode to the rest and digest, wherein you will be able to have your be able to break down the foods, be able to digest your foods, absorb it and make the most of it. So that's what I mean by eating hygiene. Chewing your food thoroughly, those things that we may have been taught as kids, but we typically sometimes miss out on later as adults. And the last one is ensure good sleep. Again, a very, very foundational aspect of creating good health and long term health. And again, something, these are all very basic things that I'm talking about, and often not very interesting. So we tend to overlook some of these, but these are, again, they are extremely effective and useful when you're trying to deal with any chronic health issue. So ensuring good sleep ensures that your body is able to metabolize properly, that your body is able to detoxify properly in the night, your brain is able to function properly. So all of these things, and you are basically repairing, rejuvenating yourself. So you need good quality sleep. So making sure that your sleep is a priority is a must here, right? So even if you don't have a proper bedtime ritual, the things that we do for our kids when they're small, especially, that we put in a bedtime routine. So you take a bath, maybe you read a book, all of that things which help in us to wind down before we go to bed. That is exactly what you need to do in your own when you're trying to ensure good sleep for yourself, right? You need to find ways to put in place a bedtime ritual. For me, for example, it looks like that I will try and get off my screens at least an hour before I go to bed, which is usually about 10. And I ensure that I get a good 8 hours of sleep on most days. And since I prioritize, I end up doing that. then I would ensure that maybe I have a cup of green tea. It gives a signal. I've been doing it for a while. It's become a habit. So my brain and my body takes it as a message that it's time to wind down and it's time for sleep. So anything that will help your brain and body to get that message to relax is going to be helpful for you to get good quality sleep and sleep on time. Maybe I'll read a physical book, or maybe I will just chat with my husband. So anything, any activity which is calming and not stimulating is what you want to do just before you go to bed, right? So I'm talking about the five steps, the first five steps that you should uh, make a priority when you have been diagnosed with any autoimmune condition, and it's true for any chronic health issues as well, right? So the five steps are, I'm just going to summarize here. The first one is assess your diet. The second is eliminate gluten. Third is create a self-care routine. Fourth is improve your eating hygiene. And five is ensure good sleep, right? So these are the five things that I have sort of mentioned here, that you need to prioritize and make sure that you're doing correctly to give you the sort of support, the foundation that you need, even if you have to take medications, even if you have to go for a treatment. At the same time, simultaneously, you're putting in place all the things that your body needs to really heal itself, right? Your body has, remember that your body has an innate ability to heal long before all these medications and all these issues, chronic diseases came up. Your body has an immense ability to balance itself given the right resources, right? Sometimes we need to step out of its way and make sure that we are supporting it by providing the nutrients, whether it's the right soil, which is basically, it's like a plant. I'm not a gardener, but we know the basics, that if you want a healthy plant, you need to look at the soil. So the soil would be your gut. Actually, the gut health is where it all starts, especially where autoimmune conditions are concerned, and even majority of the chronic diseases. So your gut health is important, which is why we start with food as medicine, which is why I'm talking about assessing your diet, eliminating gluten. And of course, you also need water, and you also need sun. So these are all the self-care practices, the sleep part of it, and other things that make up the rest of your environment, right? Your environment is what you need to focus on, and creating a healthy environment is where you need to look at. This will help you to not only get well but to stay well, because it's not about going in and out. So what happens for many people that I see, that if you don't put all of this in place, if you haven't really understood how to do this, we call it the revolving door of disease, right? You get better, and then again you get unwell, and then again you get better, and then because you've not really addressed all of that, which you've not really laid a very strong foundation. You've not taken the time to figure out what it is. You've not taken the time to figure out what your body needs from you, which is why you are constantly stuck in this revolving door of disease, and you don't want to do that. So just by doing this, taking these five steps first and making them a priority is key if you want to really manage your chronic disease, if you want to manage your autoimmune condition, and not only get well but stay well. And if you would like the free guide, that five changes you need to make when you're diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, make sure that you drop in, say yes, type yes in the comments below, and I will be sure to get in touch with you, and I will see you again soon.